Hi, and welcome to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating podcast. My name is Kristen Jones, and thank you so much for joining me this week. So, this podcast is being recorded in the beginning part of November. And if you are any place in the United States, probably 3 weeks ago to a month ago, we started putting out things for the holidays. And now October has passed, Halloween has passed. And for me, that means we are knee deep into the holiday season, even though back in the day, it used to be the holidays really didn't start until Thanksgiving. Christmas didn't really start until Thanksgiving, or the holiday season didn't really start until Thanksgiving. And now it's like before October. I am on the thought, I'm in the thought pattern and the thought process of when I was a teacher. It was always you just focused on getting to Halloween without hurting anyone and trying to keep your class maintained. You would get to the holiday, you would get to things to Halloween, and then November and December were so quick because they flew by, because they have Veterans Day on Friday. They have, in my school district, we got a week off. So there's all sorts of, everybody has their ideas about the holiday season and what constitutes the holiday season. We are going to say now, because it's current times, we are now, I think the holiday season starts sometimes before Halloween, but definitely after. So we've got, the pumpkin spice lattes and all the things at Starbucks and various places. And so there's all sorts of seasonal foods out there that you could absolutely partake in. And you have to, what I want to talk about today is how do we position ourselves? So it's not a situation of I wake up on January 1st or January 2nd, and I am so shocked and cannot believe, I'm blown away because I've gained, 8 pounds or 10 pounds or 12 pounds. And where did this come from? We need to be responsible and decide right now, how do I want to go into the next 6, 8 weeks of this year? How do I want to finish this year out? How do I want to show up for myself? And that's really, it's not about thinking okay, well, I'm going to give up this and maybe I'll have this and only have a bite of this. And it's really not about the food. It's really about what decision are you going to make for yourself that puts you in the best possible position to wake up January 1st, January 2nd, feeling the best that you can feel, and feeling like you have made the decisions about what's happening with what's happening with your weight, what's happening with your eating, what is happening with your life, instead of just kind of handing it over to the holiday gods and being like, whatever happens, all right, we'll just let it go, we'll just go with it. That is what ends up having us wake up on said day and feeling miserable and sad and upset with ourselves. We don't want that. Who wants that? Nobody wants that. So I want to give you some guidelines and some strategies and some things that you can start doing right now. There's also some practical, in the moment things. And I'm going to tell you, these are not strategies about food. They are strategies about your thinking and your emotions, because I don't know about any of you, but family gatherings definitely bring up emotions. And that's all I'm going to say. They just bring up emotions. You can determine whether your emotions are positive or whether they're more on the negative side. But they elicit thoughts of the holidays, brings up a lot of emotions for people. And so we really want to decide, what are our thoughts going to be about those emotions? What are our thoughts going to be about the situations, the circumstances, the holiday events? And then how are we going to position ourselves? How are we going to handle it? Are we going to handle it assertively, Like we're going to take control of the situations, or are we just going to be passive and let things unfold and then have things go in a way that we're not prepared for, nor do we want them to go that way. I want everyone who listens to this podcast to be totally dialed in with what they want to do when it comes to their holidays, when it comes to their holiday parties, how they want to behave, how they want to act, and how they want to feel, more importantly, after the holidays are done. So if you just stumbled across this podcast, you have realized, what are we talking about? We are talking about emotional eating. We are talking about losing weight, and we are talking about having some control over ourselves and our situations when it comes to the holidays. So welcome to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating Podcast. And we are live right now, currently in the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community on Facebook. And if you are not a member of that community and you are listening to this podcast for the first time, welcome. Super happy you're here. You definitely want to think about joining the Facebook group, www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough, and come and join the group. I will be completely transparent. This is a group of about, I'm going to say about 6,600 people. And the group, I am a weight loss coach. I am a life coach, and I have taken myself through the process of learning to manage my emotional eating. Emotional eating has been something that's been with me for most of my life. And I feel like in the last probably 3 or 4 years, I've gotten it really dialed in and really under control. I don't ever think it's going to go away. I know that it's not going to for me. And for most people, for most emotional leaders, that is the case. But we learn how to have a better relationship with food, but that always starts by having a better relationship with ourselves, because we don't eat in excess because we want to gain weight. We don't eat because the food just tastes so good. We think that's why we're eating, but what we're really doing is we're eating because we want to avoid emotions that we're feeling that we just don't want to be in touch with. And so what I teach members in that group, in my free Facebook group, as well as in my paid membership, the Breakthrough membership, I teach people how to acknowledge and address their emotions, address things from the past that maybe they have buried and chosen to ignore and don't want to face up to, but they keep coming up and they keep doing the same things over and over, and they can't figure out why they can't do anything differently. Well, if we haven't dealt with things from the past and we haven't processed those things and allowed them to be present, we're going to keep repeating the same patterns over and over and over again. And so that's what we do in the group. We do that in the big group as well as in the paid membership. So we are going to talk today, and actually in the membership right now, we are actually doing this week, we're focusing on all of our coaching calls. We are focusing on this particular topic, and they're getting very specific tools to use and PDFs, so they can have checklists and they can remind themselves of all the things that they want to do. So again, if you are in the membership group and you're wondering, not the membership group, excuse me, the big free group, and you're wondering, wonder what that's all about. We will we'll post the link to the membership information in the notes to this podcast, and you can click on those. And if you are just listening and you want to learn more about not only the Facebook group, but the membership as well, all that'll be in the show notes. So let's get to it. So holiday happiness. I call it holiday happiness and not holiday survival, because it always makes me feel like we're almost setting ourselves up to feel like the holidays, make it sound so sad. And so I really want to create happiness for you in the holidays in the best way that you can. So looking at your involvement and how you want the holidays to go. So there are a number of different things that you personally can do. And I'm going to tell you that everything that I'm going to talk about has to do with up here, has to do with what goes on between your ears. It is not about manipulating and controlling food. It is not about bringing your own food to a holiday party. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Yeah, it's not it hurts people's feelings. Don't do it. But what I teach people is I teach people how to eat like everybody else, and do it in a way that allows them to continue to lose weight, allows them to have control of their emotions, allows them to have control of their relationship with food. And if they want to lose weight, they absolutely can. And that all comes from thoughts. It's not about manipulating food, because that is how this is different than 98%, 99% of what's going on in the diet industry right now. Is all about your macros and your different things, and manipulating food and controlling it and having more willpower and being more disciplined and just wanting it a little bit more. Sorry, y'all, that is not the answer. The answer is understanding how your brain works, understanding how you respond to stress, how you respond to tension, how you respond to conflict, and then deciding, yeah, that hasn't worked for me for 50 years. I should probably try something different. And I've got that something different. So when it comes to the holidays, the first thing that I think everybody needs to look at is, what is your story that you have about the holidays? What is your story about the holidays? And has that story been working for you? So let me explain that. When I say, what is your story? I mean, what is it that you are telling yourself about the upcoming holidays? Are you saying, I never have any control over myself at the holidays. Oh, I'm probably going to gain 5 or 10 pounds. I'm never going to lose any weight during the holidays. You know, going to so-and-so's house is always so incredibly stressful. And I just hate being there because it's so awkward and so uncomfortable. And I just kind of get through it by just eating and drinking the whole time. And that's just what I do. That's just how it is. That's just what we do. If that's the story that you're telling yourself, that is exactly what you're going to do. So if that's something you're okay with, by all means, keep that story going. But if the story that you have had isn't working for you, and you want to look to change the story that has been in existence in your family, in your personal life, if you want to look to change that, you need to start making different decisions about what is it that you're saying to yourself about the upcoming holidays. Even if you don't believe it, even if you're thinking, oh God, Uncle Ted, he is just flat out crazy. I know he's going to say something inappropriate, mean, going to make fun of people, whatever. You can still go into it with like, it's going to be great because I'm not going to let that bother me. I am going to just let that be his problem and not make it my problem, and not make it so I have to save the world. Make it so I can be there and I can enjoy the other people, but Uncle Ted, he needs to go off and be quiet, you know, and not in a way of you getting into it with him, but you have to decide, how do you want to handle those difficult people in your life? And probably the most important thing that you could decide is that it's none of your business if they're difficult. And if you don't want to be around them, then possibly don't go. But if you do go, you get to decide, am I going to engage or am I going to pull back? Am I going to decide that that's their issue? But it's your story. What is the story that you want to create, that you want to have, so to make your holiday enjoyable, not only for you from a health standpoint and from a weight and an emotional eating standpoint, but just from an enjoyment standpoint? What's the story that you're telling yourself about how these upcoming holidays are going to be? Decide. Maybe you need to make some changes about how you think about the holidays and what you're anticipating is going to happen, and decide that you're going to try to be more positive, try to be more upbeat, try to set it up where it's going to be a good thing. Again, what we tell ourselves, what we tell our brain, is what our brain will seek to find. And so if your brain is only looking for negatives, I promise you it will find lots of negatives. And if that's not what you want, it has to start with you first. You have to decide how you want to start thinking about not only family members, friends, but the holidays in general. So that's the first thing, is change your story. Change your holiday story if the holiday story you have right now is not working for you. All right, number 2, remind yourself of all of the things that you have been able to overcome in the last year, the last 5 years, in your whole life. Remind yourself that you've been in much more difficult situations than just an uncomfortable Thanksgiving or Christmas or Hanukkah celebration. You have to decide. You have to decide and remind yourself, I have done much harder things than this. I have been through much harder things, and I'm going to be able to get through this. We have to start remembering how powerful we are, how confident we need to be, and how much we can believe in ourselves when it comes to managing those difficult relationships that we might have in our lives. We have to go in with that sense of confidence. And if you don't feel that confidence, you need to, what I do oftentimes is, and I know we have members on live in the Facebook group who have worked with me individually. And I know I can think of at least 4 of them that I have asked them to do this. One of the things that I ask my clients to do quite frequently, to really remind them of how powerful they are, but also to remind them that they have done really amazing things in their lives, because sometimes in these areas of our lives where we don't really have a lot of confidence, we can think that we can't do anything. And there's so many things that we've done in our lives that transfer over, but we forget them in the moment. So I have asked many clients, and if you're listening in the Facebook group and you are one of those people that I have asked to do this, right? Just comment with a me in the comments. What I ask my clients to do oftentimes is make a list of all of the goals, all of the accomplishments that they've done throughout their lives. I give them like a minute. They probably can write maybe like 10. And I mean, we're talking about like get a driver's license, graduate from college, get your first job, get married, have your first child. I mean, all of these things that people have done that are, they're no walk in the park. I mean, they're challenging things. And, buying your first house. I mean, all these amazing accomplishments. And I really want people to remind themselves, I've done amazing things. Like, I can do this. I can totally do this. And so I ask people to make sure that they actually remember how powerful they are, how amazing they are, and all of the things in the past that they've already done. And this is just one more thing to add to the list. So again, we need to remind ourselves of our accomplishments. Number 3 is you want to, whatever kind of routine you've been doing, whether it's an exercise routine, whether it's a morning ritual routine, whether it's journaling, whether it's, affirmations or gratitude, throughout the holiday season, you need to keep doing that. You need to make that priority number 1. You need to be feeding into yourself, giving yourself those gratitudes, those atta girls, the affirmations, all the things, to make sure that you are feeling taken care of, you're feeling appreciated, you're feeling valued from yourself. And then that gives you a better sense and a better strength and a better, just image of yourself when you go into these situations that might not be all that comfortable for you. Whether or not they're a school related event, it's the neighbor's Christmas party, it's your boss's or your husband's husband or wife's Christmas party, and you have to go and you're nervous because you don't know anybody and it's awkward, and all of those things. We have to make sure that we maintain and we make sure that we've been taken care of, that we are taking care of ourselves, so then in turn we can show up as our best self at those particular events. So really making sure, if you already have an established morning routine, keep that routine going during the holidays. Make it your priority, mission priority. It's absolutely mission critical that you get those things done in the mornings to make sure that you are feeding into yourself and giving yourself what you need. Number 4, create affirmations that are specific to the holidays and are specific to what you may be dealing with when it comes to, certain situations or certain things that you're concerned about. If you're concerned about your eating, if you're concerned about your emotions and certain people at these get-togethers, or how you might feel at these get-togethers, you need to go in with affirmations, including affirmations in your morning routine affirmations that will allow you to feel more confident, have more belief in yourself, and know that you can get through these events and these circumstances that might be very uncomfortable for you. And we need that. We need to provide that for ourselves. Nobody else can do it for us. We need to provide those for ourselves. So again, creating affirmations that are always spoken in the present tense. So they are, it is as if it has already happened. And they also never have the word not or no. They don't ever have a negative in them. They're always positively voiced. And having those affirmations and repeating those affirmations day after day and at least multiple times during the day, so you can really establish and remember your power, your strength. So you go into any situation in the holiday season and you are prepared for it. You know what your long-term goals are. You know what you're working towards. You know that this in the moment gratification is not going to be what you want long-term. Reminding yourself of those things is really important. So creating affirmations specific to the holidays. Number 5, have a plan. Have a plan for any circumstance you go into. And again, this could even be like going to the Starbucks. Like, do you have a plan? Do you have an idea about what you want to do, how you want to show up for yourself when you're in Starbucks? And, you have the option of, you can just get coffee. I don't know if anybody ever gets coffee at Starbucks, but get coffee, or do you want to get the flamboyant, huge drink, that is not on your plan? You have to have a plan for how are you going to address these things. If you're going to a party, what is your plan going to be? Because remember, our brain needs direction. It needs focus, it needs direction, and it needs to be told exactly what it is supposed to do. And so giving it direction, giving it very specific direction, very precise, like, this is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to address the buffet. This is how we're going to make sure that we connect with the host, and we're going to feel really good about that. And we're going to try and meet 5 people at the party, and the party's going to be amazing. And I'm going to have a really good time, and I'm going to get out there and meet people and not just sit in the corner. That's what you have to tell yourself. Like, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to meet some really interesting people, and I'm going to make that happen. You go in with that feeling and that attitude, and that is what will end up happening. So we have to position ourselves in that way. Lastly, this one is especially relevant with families. This is especially relevant with families. And I don't mean this to say that people don't change. But in all honesty, in most cases, people don't change. That's when people show you who they are, that's usually who they are. And that's who they are forever. So when you go into a holiday situation and you have a particular relative or a particular friend of the family that comes over, and they drive you up a wall, do not expect to go into this year's Thanksgiving and have them not drive you crazy, or have them suddenly be like, oh my gosh, they're just so nice and kind, and they don't say anything. They don't say anything manipulative. They don't say anything that's backstabbing. They don't say anything that's a disguised, it's a compliment, but it's really not a compliment. All of those things. We have to know the room, and we have to know who we're dealing with. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that we don't set ourselves up for disappointment, to think that like, oh, this is going to be great and people are going to show up and they're all going to be really nice. It's not looking and saying, oh, this is going to be terrible, but it's like, Uncle Matt, I don't know if Uncle Matt seems to be he's a little edgy sometimes. I'm just going to stay away from him. I'm not going to invite him into conversation. If he has conversation with me, I'm going to handle it. But if things get uncomfortable, I'm going to know that he's somebody I need to stay away from, because he will trigger me and he will set me off. So that is what I really want you to be aware of, is know who your obstacles are, know who your landmines are, and just try to dodge them. Just try to stay clear of those people, because you pretty much usually know what the result is going to be if you get into something with them. And if that's not what you want, you be the adult. You make the decision that, like, yeah, that's not what I want to get into this time. That is not where I want to be. But you get to make the decision and you get to be in control. That is it, it really, if anything, if there's anything that I would want anyone listening to this podcast to get, is that when it comes to any sort of social interaction, we need to be the ones who are we are we are telling ourselves how this is going to go. We are taking control of the situation. That doesn't mean we're controlling other people. We're controlling our place in this circumstance. We're not controlling the circumstance. We're not trying to control other people. We are trying to control our reactions, our feelings, how we respond to things that go on around us in these particular circumstances. And that's all we can do. We cannot control other people, nor do I ever want you to. But I do want you to have control of yourself and to make the decisions that are going to be best for you as to how you want to move forward and how you want to have an amazing, happy holiday. So those are my first part one. This is part one of holiday happiness. And I want you to think about those things. And really, again, it's all about front loading. It's all about, what do I want to think? What do I want to feel? How do I want to go in? How do I want to prepare myself to go into these situations? Take the control, decide that you're not going to sit and let things happen to you. You are going to absolutely take those steps to do what you need to do in order to make sure that your holiday for you, for your family, is enjoyable. And sometimes that may mean not going to a certain holiday, and that's okay. That's okay. You are responsible for your holiday with your family, and that's what's most important. I hope that these strategies, these guidelines have been helpful to allow you to be able to kind of set yourself up to be able to have the success that you want to have when it comes to putting yourself in the best possible position to feel amazing at your holidays and to eat in a way that is going to work for you. Now, if you are somebody who's in the free Facebook group and you have received any number of the free things that I give away when you first join, one of the things that I give away is a new member guide. And the new member guide tells you exactly how to get started using my program for managing emotional eating and losing weight. And if you've started doing that, you kind of have an idea that this is what we talk about. These are the things that we do. These are the things that we do. We don't focus a lot on food. We focus on everything that happens before you actually eat, because that's what causes you to overeat. It's the emotion, and it's the pent up emotions, the unexpressed emotions, as well as the emotions and thoughts and your brain that is working against you at times. So if you're in that free group and you're starting to do some things, you're starting to see some changes, you know that this really isn't about food, that it really is about these other thoughts. But if you're in that group and you're thinking, I really need more guidance, more accountability, and more support, that's the place. That's why we have the Breakthrough membership. And the Breakthrough membership creates that accountability, that support, and the step-by-step laid out plan for how you get more in touch with your emotions, how you get in touch with your feelings, how you get in touch with your thoughts, and then how all of those things come together to allow you to change your relationship with food. And so that's a much deeper dive. And if that's something that you're looking for, in the show notes, I will have information linked for you to be able to connect and investigate and find out more about how you can take your learning when it comes to managing emotional eating to that next level. All right. Thank you so much for joining me this week. And we will again be coming back next week with another installment of Holiday Happiness, where we'll go over a few more strategies, and these will be even more in person, like in the moment strategies that you can use that will have something to do with food. But I do want to make sure that this week's specifically, we're dealing with thoughts and feelings and actions. All right, everybody, have an amazing rest of your week and be safe because I know the weather is getting cold and we had our first rainstorm here in California. And I tell y'all, people lost their minds. Nobody knew how to drive. It was nuts. So be safe out there. All right. Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon.